the social revolution that we've seen has meant that, contrary to expectations, which were that the knowledge economy would mean that content was king and knowledge would become really, really economically valuable, was completely off the point. We missed it completely. In reality, the economic value of knowledge has fallen because it's everywhere. We can all get access to that knowledge now. We share it. We're quite happy to share it. Why are we happy to share it? Because it may no longer be economically valuable, but as a form of social capital. In other words, how people think about us because we've shared that knowledge. Anyone who uses Twitter will understand this. That's become really important in our lives. So the social value of knowledge has risen exponentially. So a good example of how all of these changes are represented in the workplace would be the story of the Eureka project, which is not a new project. The Xerox company, who, as you know, made their reputation on printers and photocopiers, they started this experiment at the turn of the millennium. And it was to do with their field engineers, how they solved problems. And Xerox thought that they had the solution. They gave them a huge big manual which catered for any possibility of something going wrong. Except nobody ever looked at it. None of us do. We don't read manuals. Instead, when there was a problem and they couldn't think of a solution, they would call one of their friends. And they realized that the value of storytelling was really significant. So there'd be a problem, someone would call someone up and he'd say, oh yes, I remember, I was at that organization a while back and someone spilled coffee down the back. You might just want to check that. And that's in fact how the real learning took place. So Xerox thought, how can we put that into a digital format and make a forum for it? And so all of that knowledge that was held within these engineers' brains, they invited people to share. Except they didn't really. So they thought, well, we'll have to give them a financial inducement. So they offered $25 for every tip that an engineer could provide. And that didn't really work either. The engineers said, look, it's not about the money. What drives us is social recognition, is recognition from our peers that our knowledge matters. And once they realized that, and they created a kind of feedback loop that we're all familiar with now, upvoting and those kinds of mechanisms. Once that happened, then the database took off, and it's now one of the world's largest engineering databases. And it was about, as this slide which I've borrowed from John Seeley Brown, who chronicled the whole initiative, it was about growing that community of knowledge. And in that view of how learning takes place, the community becomes the expert system.